Hello, everyone, and welcome to Kenny Conversation, sponsored by JEGS, the leader in high-performance aftermarket car parts. So remember to go to JEGS, I like singing it, .com, for all your car and truck parts. Well, we're trying to cover all the bases in dirt racing. We did Jonathan Davenport in super late models. We've done Brad Sweet in the world of outlaw wing sprint cars. And finally, the best that's ever been in the world of dirt UMP modifieds, Nick Hoffman. Nick, how you doing, buddy?
I'm pretty good. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Well, you're the last piece to the puzzle, and I wanted to do it the way that they do it in racing. You know, seems like the wing sprint cars are number one. I jumped ahead and put Davenport in there, but I'm so
the guy won $2 million last year. I mean, come on.
That's what I was thinking. Anybody wins $2 million, that's unheard of. So, Nick, you've watched Kenny Conversation. We go forward and backwards a little bit. I'm not a journalist. We just love talking racing. So let me start out like this. You're Nick Hoffman. You're from St. Louis, but you're right across the river in Illinois. So where are you from?
Yeah, Belleville, Illinois would be my hometown. But yeah, so basically where I lived, it was just a double wide trailer, and I could almost see the arch from where I lived. So I claimed St. Louis, just because I was so close. I was almost basically East St. Louis. My dad's shop was in East St. Louis, which was only like a half a mile down the road. So I'll claim St. Louis.
Yeah, and I like that because when we look at your race car, you got the number 2, you got the arch in there. Is that 618 or 314?
Yeah, St. Louis area, the Illinois side of St. Louis area code. So I like a lot of people give me crap for that because they say it's 314, but I'm on the 618 side.
Hey man, you stay your lane, you do your own deal. So 31 years old and you're living in Mooresville, North Carolina now. Is that right?
Yeah, and kind of the same deal as you. Just came down here trying to be an asphalt racer and ended up being a dirt racer.
Hey, you just really touched on something. Now, just like the rest, I done my due diligence. I don't want to be an idiot. I feel like I know you as good as anybody, but I still wanted to check up with you. You just said you had an asphalt dream, and I went to Mike Mittler's Mittler Brothers Machine Shop over here in Wentzville, Missouri, and we all know the Mike Mittler. We lost Mike, but he was legendary. And I walked into his building and I looked up and I guess I lost track. I was so focused on my NASCAR career. There you were. Tell me about the start of your asphalt career.
Yeah, so I grew up, watching Dad race around St. Louis, racing modifieds and stuff. And then when we moved to North Carolina, I was only 10 years old, and there wasn't a whole lot of dirt racing at all down here. So I raced a lot of asphalt. Grew up doing like the Bandoleros, the Legend cars, Allison Lazy cars, all the stuff that, a normal kid would do to try and make it to NASCAR at that time, racing against Matt Martin and Brandon McReynolds and, Corey LaJoie and a lot of them guys at that time. So grew up doing that, and then kind of moved over to the dirt side probably when I was 13, 14 range. But at the same time was still racing my asphalt a lot. So, the whole deal with Mike Mittler, Dad worked for him when we lived in St. Louis, built a lot of the motors that, Carl Edwards drove, Jamie McMurray, a lot of them guys. And so he worked for him, and it was always a joke. I'm 8 years old at this time, and joked around saying, whenever you turn 18, we're going to put you in this truck. Well, Mike was a man of his word, and when I turned 18, I got to rank 3 starts in the truck series with him, and it was just a really cool experience for me. And at the time, that's what I was trying to do, is trying to make it to NASCAR, and was able to achieve that of run a couple truck races and run pretty well. So I enjoyed doing that. And then whenever he got diagnosed with cancer, he wanted me to come back and do Eldora. So that was his big deal. Wanted to put me in a truck for Eldora, so I was able to do that. And I got Mike Mittler his last top 10 finish, and that was pretty cool.
Very nice. Yeah, I listen intently to the guests because I want to respond. It's a conversation, and you sound almost like Jonathan Davenport, where Bandoleros, Legends cars, whatever it is, the desire, the dream, because you're smart enough to know that asphalt NASCAR is where you're going to make it. And we're going to dive deeper into that in a little bit. Your work ethic, is something that I really want to zone in on. I saw you really for the first time. I mean, we raced each other in 2012, but it was Eldora where I realized you and your family, it's kind of something Rusty would say, you work your guts out. It just means to the maximum peak. Melt your own lead down, bend the tubing, weld your own cars together. When I look at your dad, Daryl, and your uncle Dean, it seems like that is inbred. It's like it comes with being a Hoffman. Like you do everything the hard way. And am I off on this?
No, for sure. I mean, I've heard stories of my dad when he was trying to race and doing it with no money and basically building cars in the basement of my grandma and grandpa's house. And grandpa sponsored some race cars, but he never raced himself. And I mean, he basically let them guys have at it, like build the cars in the shop down in the basement. And he wouldn't even really check on them or anything. Dad said, like, they'd be down there welding stuff up and they didn't know how to weld really. They just learned the hard way. So I grew up with that kind of mentality. Like, we didn't have a whole lot of money, so I just got to do whatever it takes to make it work. And Dad was an engine builder, and I hated the engine side of, like, I don't know, he got me into like tearing motors down and all that stuff. And I never really got fascinated by that. I was more fascinated by the trial and error, like building stuff and seeing if it works, and if it sucks and it's your fault. So I got kind of fascinated with that, and he kind of let me run on the chassis side and doing the setup stuff. So we sucked for a long time. I mean, he did the right thing with me, though. I felt like is like, stuck me out in Illinois, which is the hotbed for modified racing. You know that just as well as anybody, and stuck me out there, and I got lapped and everything else, but you're only going to be as good as the guys you race against. And so he, made me chase the toughest guys in the country, and it worked out for me. So yeah, I just never got into the engine side, and I had to hustle to, try and go racing. We couldn't really afford to do it the way we were doing it, but luckily him building motors, and then eventually I started building chassis, and it made it where it was really cost effective for us and was able to actually go and try and make some money.
So I want to lay a little bit of a platform here, because at the end of my list, I want to dive deep into you upsetting the modified world and creating this fast race car and complete domination. But I want to be patient until we get there. Maybe Uncle Dean or Daryl tell me a story where your dad's racing or Dean's racing 8 cylinders in a motor, and something happens early that night, and somehow your dad or your uncle, and I don't know if you know this story, but they told me the story. They got rid of 2 cylinders and raced on 6 cylinders that night and won the A main. Do you remember this story or not?
I don't know that story, but that doesn't surprise me at all, because it's like, if there's a will, there's a way with my old man. Like, I'm telling you, there's been a lot of situations where 90% of the people racing would have loaded up, but he made it work some way or the other. Like I remember the first time I won the Merrill Downey Memorial, which is a 4,000 to win modified race at Lawrenceburg. They run a dash, and I think I run second the dash, whatever, second or third. And the front seal of the motor blew out of the crank, so it's pouring oil everywhere. And we got a 44 lap feature coming up, and so he's like, he just mixes up some epoxy, gets in there with a screwdriver and pries that front seal back in there with a screwdriver, and then epoxied that deal up, and then put an extra two quarts of oil in it. It was like, I don't know if it's going to make it or not, but just see. And I was able to win the race. And I think when he drained the oil, I think it had a quart left in it. So it made it, but it was hurt, at the end. But it was like, we just got to try and, make do with what we got to try and win the race, and it worked out.
Yeah, I hear these stories from the great Dick Trickle or my family. But I think your family wins. I think you guys are kind of tied with the great Dick Trickle. Your family falls under the new one that I've got out there that I started firing up over the last month is Gotta Wanna. Dick was from the north, had that northern verbiage, no, yeah, and but Gotta Wanna. That means you're not giving up, and you gotta want it. And I will never forget, 8 cylinders, we blowed up. Let's find the 2 cylinders that are destroyed. Let's get rid of them. Yep. And somehow the rod and piston kept going up and down, but the valves quit working. But I just wanted to lay that out there.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. I mean, it's no surprise to me, because that's just the way he's always raced. And I mean, we've had multiple times where guys come over and be like, you can't do that. There's no way that's going to work. And it's like, it made it, there's so many situations that's happened at just different things that he'll find a way to make it work.
Yeah. So we're going to get to elite, but I'd like to go about things a little different way, kind of like a movie where you go to the end and you start, then so right now you're living your dream. You are in the highest form of dirt late models, which is the World of Outlaws, the World of Outlaw dirt super late models. You just got done running 13th in one of the biggest races of the year, the Dream. And now you're a World of Outlaw late model racer. You won, shockingly, already North Carolina's Stateline Speedway. Your style, slippery as an ice rink. Tell me what that, I know Nick. Tell me what that meant to you when you got in the hauler and you're driving by yourself. When you thought about it, how big was that win for you?
Yeah, man, like sitting here before it ever happened, I kind of like thought about like, what will I even do? Like, how will I react or anything? And I don't even remember what I did, so it just like, it all happened so quick. And the way the race played out is pretty cool for me and Gordy to line up on the front row together. One of my best friends, we grew up racing together, and for me to win my first outlaw race that night and was really cool. So basically passed him for the lead. It was the only pass I made all night. So that was kind of neat. But so after just reflecting back on it, it's like, it's just a huge sigh of relief, of like, now you think, I can get this done. I can do it every night, I feel like. And so we've been super close since too at Farmer City and Tri-City. So right now, just everything's kind of firing on all 8 cylinders, and just confidence is high. And I just, at this point now, I know I can get it done, and pretty fortunate with the ride I'm in.
So we all know that I haven't created a firestorm, but I broached the subject of, how do people make it in dirt racing? So we've always known, when us Wallaces started, we had to have John Childs, who owns Childs Tire. That was the guy that helped us. We had to have free motors, and we got those from Don Kern Racing Engines. We had to have free shocks. We got them from Pro George Gillespie. You went down the line, us Wallaces, big ball and stole. So with that type of mentality, tell me about the car owner. Okay, so I know Nick Hoffman just doesn't go bam. He's sitting there in $1 million truck and trailer. Everybody needs somebody.
Yep.
Tell me about your car owner and how you got to the World of Outlaw late models.
Yeah, so basically that ride became open because Devin Moran was driving for him last year, and Devin got the call to go drive what Hudson O'Neill drove last year, which was for the Lazy Days RV ride for Roger Sellers. So Ty Torrig becomes a free agent at this point of, his ride is open. So he's kind of going down the list, called a couple of guys. And so basically I was at my good friend Ricky Stenhouse's wedding, and that was the first time that Ty called me. And at first, Steve Arpin called me. And Arpin had kind of been pushing to try and get me a ride in a couple of different deals. And so Steve Arpin called me and was like, would you be interested in talking to Ty, this and that? I was
the owner of Longhorn.
Yes. Yeah. Owner
Steve
of Longhorn.
Arpin, the owner of Longhorn.
So he's been pushing for that. And then so Ty calls me up that night, and we talked for a little while. And then basically it all happened pretty quick, because then, this is, I think they got married in November. So January, February, we're racing Outlaws. So it all spiraled really quick. And the biggest thing, everything's always been held at his shop. And for him, he kind of, I feel like wanted it to stay there. But then now looking back at it, I think he's happy it's down at my place, just because everything's going smooth. He doesn't have to babysit us. I basically take care of all of his stuff like it's my own. So it worked out really well, and it just spiraled really quick. But yeah, he's got a great operation. He just works a regular, water treatment plant. He's no, millionaire or anything. He's got a government job doing that. And then he's got his parts business with Ty Torrig Performance Parts, and they deal Longhorn chassis. So Kenny Wallace, if he wanted to go late model racing, he'd call Ty Torrig and order a Longhorn from Ty. So he does a lot of different things. He's got his hands in a lot of, different areas to try and make money and go racing. And it's just what he enjoys doing. And it's kind of, it's a family deal, just like my deal was. So it kind of fit me really well.
I think what interests me most as a racer, and I know if any racer's ever thought about you going super late model racing, is here you are in the mods. But I noticed, we all have peripheral vision, and that came from my days in the NASCAR garage area, right? You got this car right here. You're on a creeper. You're underneath your car, but you're looking over here at this guy's trailing arms. You always had good peripheral vision with your dirt super late model guys. I've watched you hold casual conversations with Kevin Rumley. You've always been up to speed on the late models.
Yeah, I think a lot of that helps my modified side. I've raced enough late model races before this deal. I've gotten a relationship, and I feel like I got some respect for a lot of drivers through my modified career, and then the handful of starts that I've made in late model racing before. But so I just talked to all them guys, and at the end of the day, learning about what they're doing, the late model side, all trickles down to what we're doing on the modified. So, you can't learn enough on anything. So I just take as much of that, advice and knowledge and everything, and try and trickle it into my business or whatever. So it all helps at the end of the day. But yeah, just the biggest thing is I try to stay in my lane. I don't really like parking beside people. I have, a handful of guys that I talk to, and then I just feel like there's so many racers that screw themselves up because they talk to everybody. I call it the setup survey. They go from one trailer to the next trailer, and they take one thing from this guy and take one thing from him and try and put it together, and then they end up going even slower. So the biggest thing is try and stay in my own lane and just worry about my own program versus worry about everybody else.
I'm a little bit into philosophy and psychology. I can't help it. It's just the way I am. I would say 99.8% of the racers want to buy a car. They want you to tell them everything to do short of driving it. And if your information does not help them, then they get mad at you. Like, if you just tell me what to do, I could win. What's going on there in racing?
Yeah, I think everybody thinks there's a big secret out there, especially, I see it every day in the modified side. People think that you're holding back on this or that or, whatever. But, what I won the last 3 years in modified racing on is all pretty much standard stuff. You've seen under my car, and there's nothing.
Your car's been at my shop on jack stands.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
it
it's
pisses
like,
me off that there ain't nothing there.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, I see it every day. Everybody thinks you're holding out on them and you got something special, this or that. And it's like, what I preach to anybody is like, just balance. Like, your race car has to be balanced. You have to be able to maneuver, and you can't be too tight, too loose, whatever. So I see it all the time that everybody thinks that there's something out there that I could just go out and buy that's going to make my race car faster. And it just doesn't work that way.
So we're not the modifieds yet. We're in late model land.
Yeah.
Because I want to give you your credit. You're where you want to be now in life. But you got it going on, because I preach and we talk about this. Okay. You're not going to go to 60 years old running a dirt late model right now. And you got elite chassis. Your money maker. And we'll talk about that in a minute. But as you run the dirt super late models, it seems like everybody gets on rolls. JD's like, Davenport, we're not running real good right now. I'm like, really? I thought you were.
Yeah.
But you're not. So can you shed light on what that is about, especially 100% in dirt racing? You win, then you're way down here and you can't do nothing. What's that about?
Yeah, I think, everybody's going to blame it on confidence and stuff, and which a lot of that is confidence. But I think the biggest thing is the late model trends change so fast, whether it's everybody the last 2 years, like, we got to have a Longhorn car. And then, Longhorn, I still feel like is the best, I would say, but Rocket has made a surge, obviously, and are winning a lot of races and are really good. So then you got guys that are jumping off the Longhorn bandwagon to jump on the Rocket bandwagon. And so I think it goes in surges of like, maybe they found something. So then you got a guy like JD, they got very smart people working for him. And so they start testing and trying different stuff, and they might get off and then have to like go back and regroup and start back over. And I think that's kind of what they did at the Dream, because JD was parked right beside me, and we would talk pretty much every time he got off the racetrack. And the first 2 days he was like, we are terrible. Like, I don't know why. And so I think the last day they kind of went back to their old notebook, like, all right, this is what we did. This is what's won us races here in the past. And he was able to get it done for 129 grand. So a fan looking back at it, like, they didn't realize that he was struggling as bad as he was, because he still won his heat races, still running, the top 3 or 4, but he's like, I don't know what it is. Like, I feel terrible. So it's a lot of things that race fans might not see. But yeah, I mean, as a driver, you kind of look at it like JD, he's typically winning all the prelim nights and everything, and he just felt like he wasn't very good.
So Billy Moyer, the great Billy Moyer, he once said to me, he stops here at the house because he lives south of me in Batesville, Arkansas. And you've been here. But Billy Moyer said to me when I was talking chassis with him, he said what you just said. He says, when we try things, we're going to go backwards because we're in unknown territory. And if you do 6 things, you're hoping to find 2.
Yep.
And I listened to you early. You said how you trial and error when you were building Elite. Is that the right philosophy?
Yeah. I mean, there's no better time to try something as it is like during a race scenario. You can go test all you want, and man, you'll feel like a hero. And then you get out there in a race and you suck, So I test very minimal, and I test during races a lot. And it might set you back. And like when you're running a tour like the Outlaws, you can't really test a whole lot. You kind of got to know what, run what you know all the time. But there is some situations where we're not running Outlaws, and that's your time to try something. So the biggest thing, when I drove for Scott Bloomquist last year, I got to test with him one time. People kind of had told me how he tests, but how he tested, I think, was probably the smartest way of testing I've ever been around. Scott, basically, I got in the car and we'd make an adjustment. I'd pull out on the racetrack, run down in turn 1 and 2, wide open through 3 and 4. And then I'd run through 1 and 2 fast again, and then shut her down the back. So I make a lap and a half. And if you ain't got it figured out what that car feels like in a lap and a half, you're probably not going to figure it out. So he's like, a lap and a half, and that's all you got. And then pull back in. They'll make another adjustment. It'll go back out. So that way you're not lapping motors out. You're not killing tires. Your tires don't get too hot or anything like that. But that was, to me, that was a wild way to test. But I feel like it was, you learn the most, and you were able to get the most runs in and try the most things in one period of time for a test session.
Let's talk about that just for a minute, Scott Bloomquist. Now, my disclaimer is he's weird, he's different, blah, blah, blah. But, and I've said this before, Einstein, all the greatest are different.
Yeah.
Rumley. Yeah. Is Bloomquist, does he fall in that category as a brilliant, weird man? Yeah,
he definitely, the way he thinks about anything in life is way different than anybody I've ever been around. I think a lot of people have seen that through his podcast and everything he's done. But at the end of the day, he's a super nice guy. And he's, people kind of look at him as like hard to approach and that type of stuff. But he's very nice guy to talk to anybody. He's great with my kids and stuff. Like, he's just a really good guy. He did a lot for me. So that was, to travel up and down the road with him for basically 6 months was something that probably very few have ever done. But to drive his race car, it was, big accomplishment for me to even have that honor to do it. But yeah, I mean, it just very smart guy, thinks about things way different than we do. And I think that's what made him so successful for a long time, is like, when you're thinking about the little things, there's so far in depth that he would go into the smallest things, whether it's how springs travel and the hysteresis in springs, to we were pulling rear ends out almost every other week to check the straightness of rear ends and mess with that. I mean, there was just so many little minor details that he just crossed that nobody else, I don't even think thinks about. You went to school. Yeah. And sometimes it's not even about tricks of the trade. It's about the way you work. Pulling rear ends out, that would be something somebody at a local racetrack might do once a year, maybe never take their rear end out. So his work ethic is pretty hardcore. Yeah, and there's no shortage of work, but like it's always late at night. I think everybody kind of knows that how Scott, works is like we'll get, home from a race or whatever, and it doesn't mean nothing for him to work till 4 or 5 in the morning. So, and he just sits there and sips on his Crown Royal and just works, So, yeah, it's pretty impressive. He's just very smart with tires, grooving tires, siping tires. He had ways to sipe tires and groove tires per racetrack. And I mean, he has a wall at his shop that is just full of, tires that he won races on. So he's got them labeled like this was a Batesville tire. This was a Tri-City tire. He can pull it down and look at how it wore and be like, okay, this is how I'm going to groove my stuff for when I go back to Batesville or wherever. So, just kind of crazy. He had ways that like, he would teach me like how I need to hold the grinder for different places we were going, like just crazy stuff, like,
I'm afraid I might have messed up a lot of my tires. I feel like it was funny though. I have ergonomics the way I use my grinder.
Yeah, so he would round edges at some places he goes, and he makes sure the edges are sharp. Other, it's just pretty wild. He's just so in depth on everything.
I might have to call you after this and talk to you about the way I grind my tires at some of my racetracks. Well, look, Nick, we dove as far as we could in the dirt late model world. Look at you. I mean, you've done it. You got it going on. You took the leap of faith. I like it that we documented that you told the owner, hey, give me all your stuff so I can control it. So you're doing it. And that's all there is to it. You're at the very start of your late model career, and you're already winning. You're up there in the points. You're racing these guys. So that's just that. So let's go back a little bit now. Your dad builds motors. Your dad works for NASCAR Tech, and he builds those motors for your dirt modified. So right now I want to clean the slate, and I want to go to you as a dirt modified guy. You're a dirt modified guy right now in this interview, although we know you're a late model guy. So your dad builds your motors, but elite chassis. How the hell did that start?
Yeah, so going back to saying I was trial and error, doing this and that, and tried a couple different chassis. There was a guy down here that worked for Ganassi during the day, and he would build some modifieds at night. Back in the 90s, DIRTworks was massive. DIRTworks chassis, they built 300 cars a year, massive company.
Here in Missouri.
Yep. So Monty Grice was the guy's name. He was the head fabricator at DIRTworks and then moved south to work in NASCAR. Just like all of us did. He wanted to work in NASCAR and try and make a living there. So he did. He was building frames at Ganassi during the day, and then he'd come home. He would probably only build 2 to 3 modifieds a year. Just kind of a pride and joy. Just wanted to do it at his shop at his house. And so Monty was building all my stuff. But his jig, the way it was set up, like not any of his cars were the same. Like everything was different. And he would let me come in, and I'd move some brackets around, do this and that. We'd go out there and race, and ended up winning the 2012 Gator Nationals in one of his cars.
Against me.
Yeah.
That was my best year.
Yeah, I passed Austin Dillon that night to win. So that was really cool. So that is what leaped my whole modified career right there that night. And then at the end of 2012, he got diagnosed with cancer in the middle range right there, 2012. And wasn't gonna be able to build cars again. And so I bought a lot of his equipment and decided I was gonna start my own deal. And bought a lot of his equipment. And then I went to the Allison brothers, which were the same Allisons from NASCAR. It was Donnie Allison's boys. There's 3 of them. And so they have a shop that they used to build legend cars and stuff. And they had never even really been to a dirt race. So they knew nothing about what we were building. So they decided they wanted to take this deal on and build the first couple frames. So, I basically had all my chassis brackets drawn and cut out in sheet metal and took them to Dale Earnhardt Incorporated and was like, here, can you make this out of steel? And that's kind of how we got started and built that first car. 17 days from the tubing rack to the racetrack at Eldora for the Fall Nationals at Eldora. 137 cars there. And I qualified quick time overall. I won the heat and I won the Fall Nationals. So that was like huge for my chassis company, but my career. My family had went to the Fall Nationals for 20 years and my dad was never able to win it. and I was able to win it in 2012, and that was what leaped my whole chassis company. That first week, I'm an 18-year-old kid, and that first week I got phone calls, and I'm starting to get people wanting to buy cars. Will Krupp was my very first phone call, and it was actually Willie Krupp, owns Willie's Carburetors. They were the first people to call me. We want to order a car. So I'm an 18-year-old kid. He sends me a deposit for $20,000, and that's like more money I've ever seen.
That's more money you ever see. You're looking at I've been there. Looking at check like.
Yeah,
that's grown-up money.
Yeah, like what am I gonna do with it? So we ended up building him his first car and took it to PRI and displayed 2 cars at PRI, and that was, now me and Will are like best friends, so it worked out really well. But yeah, from there it was like I had to grow up really quick and learn how to run a business and then race and try and juggle everything at once. And I was getting a lot of deposits on cars, and then I gotta promise these guys I'm gonna have this car done and try and get it done and everything. So I grew up really quick, and I think at first everybody kind of thought it was gonna be a fad, and I was gonna do it for 1 or 2 years and be out real quick. And now I've been around for 11 years and made a staple.
I'm very impressed that you do all this in your father and your mom's 2-car garage. I tell people, I said, before you talk crap about Nick Hoffman, you need to go see how he does all this. You have shocked America. I mean, literally. I know that sounds big time, but when people see where you do all this, it's a shocking blow to a lot of people's ego, because they feel like the reason somebody's got something is because they got more. You don't have anything.
I got
this little bitty garage, and how the hell you do it?
Yeah. They all, through the years have all had the mentality that I have NASCAR money. That gets them a lot, which you see that all the time on your side too. But we just do it out of a small 2-car garage. That's where all my chassis work's done. Ricky Stenhouse houses all my late model stuff, which is just a small shop at his ranch here.
Now.
Yeah. So that's where all my late model stuff is at, but all my mod stuff's still at my parents'. And within the next 6 months, I'm actually going to have a shop built to house everything. So I feel like I've made it where everything can go into one shop. My dad's engine shop, everything all in one building, my chassis shop, and then all my late model stuff. So I'm really looking forward to that. That's going to be huge as far as helping my chassis business, become more manageable for me to try and oversee everything. And then have my guys there working on my late model side too. So I feel like it's just going to help me out a bunch. And then I'll be able to be home with my kids too.
Did you say your dad's motor shop is going to come in your building?
Yeah. So I'm going to do everything all in one building. So that'd be a one-stop shop for everything.
Yeah. So maybe your dad would take that old car he's been working on for 10 years and push it into.
Yeah. He's pumped up to get his garage back so he can actually work on his hot rod.
So do you think with your new building, so in other words, you're building this beautiful new building. Do you think you're still going to use that mentality where you're condensed, or are you finally going to spread your wings and use your whole shop?
Yeah, I feel like I'm so organized now because I have to be. I have no choice. That I have it all drawn up on paper. I mean, it's all sitting right here, like the floor plan, and
love it.
Yeah, everything's completely drawn up of how everything should be, where everything should be placed, and all that stuff. Just because I am so condensed right now that I don't want to use up a bunch of floor space for nothing, So I'll still do it that way. But the biggest thing for me is right now, I have cars over in storage at Ricky's, modifieds just in the barn.
Ricky Stenhouse.
Yeah, at his shop, because I ain't got room for them at my shop. If I had a shop big enough that I could have all these cars laid out, I have enough parts that I could work on this one or that one. But right now I can only work on one car because, that's the only thing I got shop space for. But then I might be missing a set of brake pedals or something. So then I can't finish the whole cockpit, and it just gets real frustrating real quick.
I have people that, there's this phenomenon that if he's poor, I like him more, and open trailers. And I'm like, calm down. Where I'm getting to is you work with so little that I've watched you come back from Volusia in February, and the car that you dominated with would stay in your hauler for months because you have nowhere to put it.
Yep.
That's the type of stuff you do.
Yeah, I've done that a lot. There's a lot of times where my car never got unloaded for, weeks or months at a time, depending on whatever the next big race was going to be, just because I didn't have space. And I was busy on customer cars or whatever, So, and I'm not ever using that as an excuse. It's just the way it was,
Oh, yeah.
There was a lot of times where I got home from Florida and I didn't really plan on racing. We in Florida, say in the middle of February, I didn't plan on racing again until probably April, really. So that thing would just sit in the trailer, and that was just another storage trailer for me. So, yeah, I mean, done it a bunch. I've showed up at racetracks with my stuff still dirty. I just, hate to say it that way, but it's like, it sucks. Any of my customers, they do that. I'd be like, well, listen, you're running back because you don't clean your shit. So for me, it's like, I've done that before. So it is what it is.
You know what you got to do. You get it done. And I like bringing these things up because there is this thing that if people got a little holler, and it's the people that don't matter. I tell people, I say, look, put your stuff on an open trailer and somebody steal your quick change gears. We got this thing now called, modern world, and you can buy a Hallmark closed trailer and use it all year long. Let your wife park her, car in your garage for the winter. But I wanted to bring that up for so many reasons because I've always admired you using your enclosed trailer as a storage space. And
yeah,
Charlie, my YouTube manager, he doesn't like me cussing, but you make chicken salad out of chicken.
Yeah.
You're very good at it, and I just wanted to draw that to everybody's attention. So I want to call an audible here, and then I want to talk about the controversy. First of all, your family. Your sister Ashley, I think when I drink coffee every once in a while, my mouth tightens up. But your sister Ashley and your brother-in-law Jeremy, they own Millbridge. We've got to acknowledge that. Your family does it all. Your dad builds motors, you build race cars. Just a little bit about acknowledging this incredible phenomenon, Millbridge, owned by your sister and brother-in-law.
For me, it's really cool to I see every side of motorsports, from them track prep wise all the way through running the show and getting people in and out and everything else. So they do a great job. I think they've had Millbridge now for almost 10 years. And when we first got it, it was terrible. I mean, it was run down, just looked like we would call it a shithole. But I mean, that's basically what it was. So now it's became a massive thing across the country. It's known nationwide now, if not worldwide. So just really cool what it's turned into. But they work really hard. They live on the property. They've expanded it. They're fighting with the county now because they expanded it and this and that. It's just become a big old ordeal. But I mean, now that's where all the NASCAR guys hang out on Wednesday night or Tuesday night or whatever. Their kids race on Tuesday or they might race on Wednesday. Kyle Busch is racing on Wednesday. His kids racing on Tuesday. So there's so many of those guys that come out and they can go there and not be bothered. All the fans or people walking around, they don't bother them, So it's just really cool that what it's turned into. I've made millions of laps there racing, whether it's an outlaw kart or micros or I've even made laps in my modified there. So
do you think that's why you were able to get in an open wheel midget at the Dome and I mean, you because of Millbridge?
A little bit. Like I got to know them guys that I'm racing for. They're from Kansas. I've got to know them more through Facebook than anything, but they see me running a lot of open wheel stuff through the outlaw karts and micros and stuff like that. So that leaped me into midget racing, and I really enjoy running the midget. I feel like for me, that's probably the toughest racing I do. I know like late model racing is super tough as far as the competitive level and everything, but the midget side's so second nature to me that it's way different. So it's tough for me, and I really enjoyed doing it. So I've gotten to run the midget race in Millbridge twice and run good there. So I think a lot of that is just experience of racing on the racetrack, and that place has just turned into a really cool place to go on Tuesday or Wednesday night and take your kids, and it's really neat.
Well, you're the ultimate racing family. So, okay, we're going to dive into this one, and it's near and dear to my heart. You created a Firestorm. You just destroyed the world with your domination. We're going all modified now, which I said 15 minutes ago. You build your own race cars. You were headed for a 4th championship. We need to talk about your automobile accident going through Louisville later. Nick, why do you think so many people were mad at you for winning so much?
I don't know. I mean, obviously everybody, first thing they go to is you're cheating, this and that. But to me, like, my car's been teched or checked so many times that, that's out of the equation. But yeah, I don't know. I had everything rolling. Confidence is super high. I felt like I could never lose. And I think I showed that, was it 2 years ago at Summer Nationals? I won 16 straight, and ended up winning 19 of the 20 or whatever it was. So, yeah, I don't know. I just got to the point where I felt like I could win every single night and there was nobody that could beat me. And I just got super confident. And, some people think that's cocky or whatever, but it's just being confident in yourself more than anything, and your program and everything you've built. So it was really fun for the last couple of years to win, but it got to the point where, like, if I didn't win, I was pissed. Like, I just want to load up and get the hell out of there, So,
yeah.
It got to the point where, like, I was expected to win. And if I didn't, I took it on myself pretty hard. So I hate losing more than I love winning.
Yeah. So there was a time, I think, I don't know where we were, but we were racing a lot last year, the year before. And you looked at me and I was like, give me the left rear shock off your car. And you went in the trailer, you pulled it off the wall and you gave it to me. And I put it on my car and I about spun out. I said, take this damn thing back. At that time, I realized that your driving technique, and every time you got in my car, you would run 0.2 quicker than me. We play the piano in there. We got the gas, we got the brake, we got the wheel. We got, like, there's a string connected to all of it, right? We got the steering wheel down to the gas pedal, down to the brake. I think you've got a great talent. And I think people don't want to give you an attaboy, but I know better because I'm a racer. I recognize your driving talent. I got in a conversation with you one time and you said, Kenny, look, I built this car for me to suit my driving style, and now I sell it.
Yep.
Tell me about everything I just said right there.
Yeah, so same deal. If we're talking about late model side, Rocket built that car around Josh Richards and Brandon Shepard, how they race. And Brandon's done good now, but I feel like it's a whole transition to go to Longhorn for him. So in that same sense, on the modified side, I built this car around me. And I grew up like you, running asphalt and stuff, so I drive very straight. When I let off the gas, I run my foot on a lot of brake, and then there's a lot of times where, say, in the center of the corner, I'll run my feet both on the gas and the brake at the same time, depending on if I need to make the corner, like turn or whatever. So, yeah, there's a lot to that. Modifieds, you can do way more with how your car reacts with what you do with your feet. So I've learned that, and I kind of really focus on that. And I think where the late model side's different, it's a lot more aggressive racing. You're on the gas a lot harder, and I think that's the only place that I struggle. Where the modified side, there's so many times people think that I got traction control, this or that, because I come by and the track's slick and it sounds like my car's idling. Like, I barely even run.
Quarter throttle.
Yeah, I'm barely on the gas. But the biggest thing is I just carry as much speed as I can. So many people make the mistake of thinking they need traction. They need more drive off, This is what I hear the most out of anybody. I need more traction or drive off. And it's not what they did on entry to the center of the corner. They don't know that they might have screwed up back there, and that's what killed their drive off. So I focus so much on just what I call roll speed, is try and roll speed through the center of the corner faster than anybody. Then you don't need the traction down the straightaway. Like, you've already 5 mile an hour faster back here, so that just makes you 5 mile an hour faster down the straightaway.
Yeah, this would be the picture of our car going in the corner, right? It's always where they take the picture, right? And then this would be middle, okay, and then it gets ugly. This would be coming off now.
Yeah. So like 3 years ago, 4 years ago, everybody was trying to seal everything up, trying to get the noses down, this and that. And then I started running with my left front back up and just trying to make grip. And that became a whole storm of like, now everybody's carrying the left front again. And it was like,
I've caught so much heat. You're wheelied up. I'm like, and I won. What do you want me to do?
Yeah, it's fast again. Like everybody's always just searching for traction, looking for grip, so you just put the grip to the rear tires, they'll figure out a way to get it around the corner, I guess. But it's so much of a balance thing of like what you do with your feet. Like I know that if I floor this thing down the straightaway, I'm going to wheelie way worse than if I just run half throttle down the straightaway and just make my speed up back through the corner, So there's a lot of times where like, if I'm not having to hustle too hard, I'll run down the straightaway half throttle and make sure my nose kind of stays down, versus if somebody gets beside me, I just gas on that thing and it wheelies up even more, but I go faster, so it just kind of depends.
So I wanted to bring this up because I know this, but I can't assume the people who are listening know this. You built that race car for yourself. I've already told people that every time you got in my car, you ran 2/10 quicker than me, and when I let out, I dropped the car. It's just, I'm old.
I tell people you run a stiffer left rear shock than probably anybody that I got right now.
Yeah. So you're good at the way you drive your race car. You got your confidence. You're doing good. I'm a customer of yours. I love your race car. It's very easy for an old man to work on. I'm winning against great race car drivers. You were so rare. You came along and you changed the modified racing. Would it be fair to say that they were mean to you, so now you're going to mess with them, and you put in the little mail slot in the C pillar? They abused you. They were ignorant to you. They were mean to you. Is it at this time you just said, screw them, I'm going to jack with them?
It got that way for a long time. Like pretty much Florida every year, I would have something on my car. Is like, they're going to tell me I can't run this, but I'm going to do it just to screw with them more than anything. It might not be performance enhancing at all, but it's just like this or that. I know I can't get away with this, but they're going to see it and they're going to tell you to take it off. I tell everybody, like the tech guys, they're going to find something no matter what.
They got to rough you up, and they want the whole pit area to see, look, they're roughing Nick Hoffman up.
Yeah. So no matter who it is, like at some point they're going to make you change something. So there's just been so many things I've done throughout the past. So like I ran my exhaust through the decking one year at Volusia, and that was more or less just to screw with everybody. By the end of the week, they made me take it off. And the sail panel deal this past year was, yes, I mean, I looked at it as a deal to try and get air to the spoiler, and then air that's going out the left side is basically blocked by your body. So I look at a lot of areas of, how to make air better and downforce and everything. So for one, it was for that. Two, it was just to be totally different and to see how many guys would copy me. And I think we're seeing that now. A lot of guys starting to open their sail panels up. We call them mail slots because that's where I deposit all my checks.
I love it. I love it. So you were roughed up brutally. People were vicious. I'm a tough guy, but I kind of felt bad for you because I know why you're winning. And I just explained all that. You and I just explained all that. Your confidence is high. You built your race car. You drive right. And you were just on a roll. I think that's what I really wanted to get across. And, we're not going to write a novel here.
Yeah. And I mean, like any of those tech guys, I've told them for years, like, if you don't like something, literally just tell me, I will change it. And I think all the tech guys appreciate me for that, because I never go in there pissed off, like, yelling at them, like, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do that. Like literally, if they tell me like, hey, you can't do this, or hey, we want you to change this, I do it every single time. And I think that that helps me at the end of the day. Like, them guys aren't gonna be near as hard on me. If like, they're still gonna check what they need to check. If it's illegal, they'll throw me out. I got thrown out for not having a right front brake 2 years ago, at Portsmouth. So just stupid things. But if I follow that rule book and I know that modified rule book like the back of my hand, like pretty much every single measurement where stuff needs to be. And I just, obviously, like anybody, you find the gray areas and you push the limits.
I want to put an exclamation part on that. It's very sad that people want to find something wrong with your car because you're winning so much. I think it's sad that in society, we have to dumb people down because they're good. You know, it's like saying, oh, the Pittsburgh Steelers should have never won 3 or 4 Super Bowls. Let's make sure we take, it's recognize greatness. Kenny Schrader taught me, I said, man, I'm on a roll. He goes, don't worry, buddy, it won't last.
Yeah.
So that's that.
I enjoy watching any kind of dominance. Jimmy Johnson, when he won his 7 championships, this and that, like dominance, I really enjoy it because I know what it takes to get to that level. And so I appreciate all of that.
Right. All right. Well, Nick, we've already gone longer than Jonathan Davenport. He was 47 minutes, you're 51. So let's wrap it up here with what I do with everybody, opinions. So once again, I'm not disrespecting you. I've already given you your due on late models, but we're going to go modifieds. Okay, I want your opinion on the state of the UMP dirt car modifieds. The totality.
Yeah. I feel like UMP modified right now is great. I think a lot of people are happy that I'm not out there racing with them. So I feel like the car counts are up for summer nationals, all that stuff. The car counts are way up. And for me, my business is really strong. Everybody's buying cars and I'm super busy on the business side. So I have no issue with the way the modifieds are right now. The rule package, everything is really good.
Okay, so the rules, you like the rules. What about the cost of the car?
Yeah, you ain't gonna buy a $20,000 roller anymore. It's just the way it goes. Everything in life has gone up, but the cost of dirt modifieds is steep for sure. I mean, it's just what it costs. I mean, when you're upwards of 40,000+ for a roller nowadays, it sucks. But it's just, you can find cheaper cars out there, but there's a lot of things to it. It's just the motors. I'm going to say the motors aren't terrible because I'm racing late models right now. And I know what a late model motor costs, but it sucks in general of what it costs to go race. And then we're only racing for $1,500. I think that's the biggest thing is we got to start paying more and pulling a little bit of that money away from TV, whether it's Flow, Dirt Vision, this and that. Like some of that money needs to come back to the drivers.
Yeah, all three. You're the third and final driver to say the exact same thing. Jonathan Davenport, Brad Sweet, yourself. Everybody looks over.
I didn't see any of that, but I mean, all of us, we've talked about it in the past, and like we just all see it, how much money they're making, and the drivers aren't seeing it.
Yeah, and you are the show, so you're putting on the show.
We're the clown in the circus.
Yeah, right. Well, my friend, listen. You've overcome that. You overcame that horrible accident going through Louisville. Any effects? I mean, last year you were on your way to your 4th UMP national championship. You had a horrible accident with your truck and trailer going through Louisville. How is everybody doing?
Yeah, I get that question a lot. I mean, I'm good. The only side effects really I have is short-term memory loss. I felt like I struggled a little bit with that before. We call it CRS, but now they say that could take a year to 2 years to really come back. I had a skull fracture right in my temple area, and they said that's where your short-term memory is stored, and that was where my brain bruising was and everything. So just getting through that is more than anything. But as far as effects of driving, everything I do daily, I have no issues there. So my dad, he's good. He's definitely sore. He struggles to get up and down sometimes. So it probably took a harder toll on him than anybody. And then Mason's good. I mean, he had a lot of bruising and stuff on his head, but he's good to go. So he's still with me working every day in the shop. They're trying to get everything ready right now. We're getting ready to go to Kansas today. So they're trying to get all that finished up, but as far as effects, we're all good. I appreciate everybody. Man, racing family was incredible during that time. So many people did so much for me, and I still learn about things even today, like people that did stuff or did this and that. And it was pretty cool to see everything that was done for us, and I can't appreciate that enough. And moving forward, just right now I don't have a modified rig or anything. Still, I'm still dealing with all insurance and everything else. As far as that was 8 months ago, I still ain't got everything figured out there. So kind of sucks, but it's just part of it.
So it was a catastrophic event. I feel like you're still Nick.
Yeah.
But are you different now because of not so much of the wreck itself, but just the catastrophic nature of it? Are you different?
Yeah, for sure. I just it definitely changed my outlook on life, and I got 2 kids and stuff, and I want to be there for them, and changed my outlook on a lot of things for sure. Like that night, I tell people I was asleep in the passenger seat when we crashed, and so I don't remember any of it. Like I woke up in a hospital in ICU 3 or 4 days later or whatever, and I don't recall anything that happened in that whole time. I tell people, like, if I died that night, I would have never knew the difference. Like, would have never knew. I just would have never woke up. So it was pretty crazy, just to sit back and think about that and everything that could have happened. So we got very lucky for sure. And just to even walk away from it, all of us at some point. Dad broke his back, and then me with skull fracture, and then Mason was just bruised up. So I think a lot of people don't understand what happened. I need to kind of touch on this. Is like basically nothing happened as far as like Mason didn't fall asleep, nothing stupid as far as that goes. We had a truck that was on the shoulder, and it was a tractor trailer. It wasn't hauling a trailer, so it was just bobtailing. And so you got the little 2 red lights on tail lights, and he was in limp mode, only running 10 mile an hour. And he come out into our lane to go out around like a exit ramp or something. Like I said, I was asleep, so I don't know. But he come out into our lane, and we ended up hitting him. And so that was what caused the crash. And so it was just nothing that, we did wrong or anything. And just part of driving late at night, I guess. It's just something that all of us racers do, and we're probably lucky it doesn't happen more often, and we got lucky that night.
Right. We've had some tough things that happen in the sport. We lost Davey Allison in a helicopter wreck. We lost Alan Quickie in a plane wreck. We lost Rob Moroso in a car wreck. Nick, God works in mysterious ways. You were on your way to the 4th UMP modified championship, but months later, your car owner calls you up, and now you're living your dream. So
everything happens for a reason. So
yeah.
Pretty cool.
Positive mental attitude. We got to look forward and well, listen, my friend, you're young. You're only 31 years old. Congratulations to all your success. I appreciate you helping me live my dirt modified dream. You know that I started in late models. I asked you if I could buy a car. I don't rough you up because I understand competition. I do my own deal, as you know, and I'm happy to know that I run the stiffest left rear shock. I win.
Yeah, and I mean, it's just been cool working with you. And like I've told people, like having you in the pit area, whether you run my car or not, it just helps the morale of the whole pit area.
Yeah. Well, thank you, buddy. Okay, listen, everybody. We are in podcast form. Go to iTunes, Spotify, and as I tell everybody, listen to Nick Hoffman on your way to work. Turn it back on when you go back home. Until then, please like and subscribe. And Nick, thank you so much for doing this.
Yeah, appreciate you.
What's up next? You going out to Kansas, World of Outlaws?
Yeah, they got everything loaded up over there. So we're going to jump in the truck probably an hour or two, and 18-hour drive to Kansas. And then we race 7 races in 9 days this next stretch. As they say, eat your Wheaties. All right. Until then, everybody, the Kenny conversation keeps on digging. Herminator might take a break. I've done my job. We've done it all with Davenport, Brad Sweet, Nick, and we got NASCAR coming back. They took a week off. And until then,